Anyhow, it's a strange world out there. And, if you didn't, you know, Peter, that if you only listened to what the mainstream media put out, you would walk through the life, through the valley of shadows. You wouldn't know anything.
Yeah. And it makes you a dangerous person because you know.
Yeah, right.
On our website, for the last 2 days, we have talked about there's a theory that Barack Obama's father is Frank Marshall Davis. Yeah. So we have a guy who does a lot of photo work for us, and we put up pictures of the combinations. Is it Frank Marshall Davis and Stanley Ann Dunham, or is it Barack Sr. and Stanley Ann Dunham? And the pictures are like boom, boom, boom. We've got a lot of criticism for having them up there, but tons of hits on the website, KHW.com. And this guy, Frank Marshall Davis, could very well be the biological father of Barack Obama, which would explain a lot of this other insanity. But, your piece you did in The American Thinker, will Obama's silence blundering Abercrombie? Now, I've been calling him Abercrombie and Snitch. He was going to snitch out. He was going to tell everybody the truth.
Yeah.
And what happened? Well,
now he has decided to put the economy first. He's lambed out to Maui. Yeah. So I don't think we'll ever hear from him about this subject again because he's lying about what he knows.
Sure he is.
And this is provable. You know.
Oh no! And how about when he went to these social events with Barack Sr., baby Barack, and Stanley Ann?
Well, here's what we know for a fact, Peter, is that little family never lived together.
No, of course not.
That, personally, for instance, when I was doing the research for Deconstructing Obama, I asked the three best researchers I knew, real sober guys. I said, okay, who's the biological father of Barack Obama? I got three different answers.
What were the three? Well, let me do this. Let me break for traffic, come back and give me the three. Yeah. Jack Cashill is with us, American Thinker. Let's get to work, 6:30 KHW traffic time. Here's Susan. "16 minutes after the hour, Jack Cashill, Peter Boyle's on the air everywhere, from the American Thinker. Now what? The Hawaii governor, and I've kept all the ink from the Chicago Tribune and the LA Times, where Neil Abercrombie wants to find a way to release more information and torpedo those birthers, racist bastards. And suddenly, after making those statements, and the president arrives in Hawaii for his hard-earned vacation, spokeswoman Donella Dela Cruz said, is it going to be done immediately, meaning the true information? No, she says. The first thing on our list now is the economy. Now, his top priority in the end of December was to torpedo the birthers. Now, like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, never claimed to be, or the sharpest knife in the drawer. But he shoots off his bazoo. The president goes to Hawaii, and now his top priority is the economy, stupid. So what am I supposed to believe, Jack?
Well, here's what we know, just to clear the air for those who are reluctant to accept this, is that Ann Dunham, Barack's mother, enrolled at the University of Washington 2 weeks after the reported birth date of Barack Obama in August 1961. She lived there for the next 15 months with her son. When she got back to Hawaii, Barack Sr. was gone. They never lived together.
No.
So the whole notion that he went to social events with this little family, or he was there when the baby was born, is what he said at first, was totally crazy. He backed off that. He never saw this family together because they never lived together. Barack Obama, his parents and his grandparents created a legend for him from the time he was born. It's not a legend because they expect him to become president, but because they wanted him to go through life as something other than a bastard. Mm-hmm. And the question then is, who's the father? And the ruling on the field is, as we would say in the NFL. Well, you guys said, well, you're not in the NFL anymore because you get. But the ruling on the field is with Kansas City has a playoff game next week, so we're excited here. The ruling on the field is Barack Obama Sr. And to throw the red flag, you got to have enough proof to overcome it. There is an excellent case that could be made for Frank Marshall Davis, and I think one of the telling things. And this has been dismissed, are those nude photos of Ann Dunham.
I brought that up so many different times with people, and first of all, his defenders say those are photoshopped.
No, they're not.
But well, see, if they're photoshopped, they're really good. Somebody took nude pictures of Stanley Ann Dunham. Now, were they taken in Washington State? Were they taken in Hawaii? Where were they taken, Jack?
Well, here's what we know, and there's some interesting clues. I got into this pretty deep, and I figured it'd be easy to disprove because I just wanted to get this out of the way. So I went to Snopes, which is not reliable, but it's a reliable defender of the Obama mythology. And what they did there, usually they just misinform. In this case, they disinform. They said, this isn't Ann Dunham. This is 50s pinup model Marcy Moore.
Mm-mm.
They said the photos aren't retouched, but it's 50s pinup model Marcy Moore. Mm-hmm. And then I went to that source that we all go to when we need this kind of information, and you've probably been there too, Peter, Boobopedia.
Yes.
The Encyclopedia of Big Boobs. And there I found 50s pinup Marcy Moore, who is much better looking than Ann Dunham and much more ample in certain curious places, you know.
It's her. I mean, it's
it's
Stanley Ann.
It's Ann Dunham, right.
Sure.
And it looks like her. It's got the same hair, the same chin, the same eyes. Here are some interesting clues. Frank Marshall Davis was a photographer who took pornographic photos. He brags about it in his memoir, Live in the Blues. The photos are taken during Christmas. We see the Christmas decorations there. The girl in the photo has a tan line around her shorts. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm sorry, there's only a few places in America where you can have a tan line around your shorts in December. And sitting on the table there is the album Cuban Fire by Stan Kenton, which came out in 1960, the year these photos would have been taken. So it's entirely likely that this is Ann Dunham, and it's entirely likely that Davis is the photographer. And if he was that intimate with her, then yes, it's altogether possible that he could have been the father. Now, here's what we know, too. He's married at the time, has several little kids. He's married to a white socialite. If she becomes pregnant by Frank Marshall Davis, and he brags in his memoir, he doesn't name names, about impregnating 3 white women, then, yeah, you're going to look for a beard. You're going to look for someone to take the fall, to stand up, because it can't be Davis. He's got to be black. And that's when Barack Obama Sr. walks into the field. They're taking Russian classes together, he and Ann, in the fall of 1960. Who took Russian classes in 1960? Like people like Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's funny. That's funny stuff.
And let's face it, that Davis is a communist. We know that. He's a member of the Communist Party.
Self-admitted, sure. Yeah, he was there with Gus Hall and those guys.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And, we know that Barack Obama Sr. appeared at, his Communist Front rallies. He's in bed with these guys. They know each other. And so why not say, okay, Barack Sr., you stand up for me. There's no marriage, no photos of any marriage. Abercrombie didn't go. No one ever even saw these couple together, except for Neil Abercrombie.
Mm-hmm.
Frank Marshall Davis is a very good suspect in the paternity sweepstakes.
Here's what to do, you guys. Go to KHOW.com. And we have debated whether many times, Hollenbach and myself, about the nude photos of Stanley Ann. And they're not, they're not. They're nothing that you can't see.
By today's standards, they're pretty mild.
They're pretty mild. But it's her. And then there's combinations, and this is Phoenix Pilot, our photographer, who does great work for us. Pilot, thank you again. He does these combinations of who do you believe the father is. And when you look at the pictures, and again, I'm not a geneticist, and I have no area of expertise at this at all, but I was looking at pictures. Frank Marshall Davis looks a hell of a lot more like Barack Obama than Barack Obama Sr. looks like Barack Obama Jr. Now,
right, but who Barack looks just like is his grandfather, Stanley Dunham.
Absolutely, Gramps.
Yeah, I mean that's where the family lineage is. He has the chin and the eyes that his mother and grandfather had.
Yeah, Gramps and Toot. Yeah, and Stanley Ann looks like him.
Yeah. Yes.
And so she looks more like Gramps than she looks like Toot. But so. Now suddenly, this newly elected governor, who was going to do all of this stuff, did this torpedo his words in the Chicago Tribune, Barack Obama's newspaper, the Chicago Tribune. I'm going to torpedo these birthers. Suddenly, he's not. No,
and part of it is that the birth certificate could reveal data that would place him being born in the United States somewhere, but that would nonetheless undo the story that they created around Obama's origins, a story that's been told more fervently than any stories since Jesus's. And they elected him on that story. The goat herder from Kenya, the girl from Kansas, the improbable love, the union in Hawaii.
The speech that was made here in Denver.
Right. Every place, the speech in Denver started with that story. I mean, he didn't go 2 words before he's into the story.
Right.
And now if the story becomes totally undone, his real name would be Barry Davis. Not much romance in that name. The bastard son of a communist pornographer.
Yeah, who was
or it's not impossible that he was that Ann was impregnated on the mainland and had to flee to Hawaii.
Yeah. What do you think, and why do you think this birth certificate as well as some 20, I don't know what the accurate count is, 28, 29. I mean, here's a man almost 50 years of age. He has no historical documents, no footprints, no bona fides. Why?
Well, because the media didn't care to know.
Well, they still don't care to know. Still don't care to know.
No,
but
I mean, I would have, in the research I was doing on the authorship question, that is, who wrote Dreams from My Father, which proved to be Bill Ayers, I would have been happy with his SAT scores, let alone his birth certificate, his LSAT scores. None of that. His records, the adoption records by, Lola Sotero in Indonesia. All of that stuff's off limits, and it's amazing in this day and age when, everything is known about everyone instantaneously, that we know less about our president than we do about George Washington, So it's a weird world out there.
But I mean, now that these major media, L.A. Times, and I asked this the other morning, I forget who, maybe it was Jerry, I said, do you think they're sitting in the offices of the Tribune or the Times and saying to one another, he said he was going to do that, and now he doesn't seem to do it? My response is, and Jerry's response was, no, they're not asking that question, because they served this stuff up, this pablum they served up about, here comes the man, he's going to solve this for everybody. He's going to show you Barack Obama's truth, justice, and the American way. Fine. Yeah, now, as they said in The Godfather, he's gone to the mattresses. And do you think that they sit in the editorial offices or the newsroom of the Trib or the Times and say, geez, you know what, he didn't fulfill his promise?
No, that won't happen.
No, of course it won't happen.
And I've had Peter, I've had this upfront encounter with the media on a couple issues, but on this issue, for instance, when I first unraveled the authorship issue, this was in September, October of 2008, no one called me. Not only would no one call me, but when I called them, they wouldn't take my call.
No, I tried to get Chris Matthews on the show, and when I told you, I used to do all the Ramsey cases with those guys, and I don't exist anymore. And they used to call me at the house. Chris would like you to do the show. Hey, man, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Now it's like, Peter who?
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, not that I'm any big cheese, but I mean, it's like, now what? And so,
as you know, Peter, the hardest, what's hard to convince, even moderates of, and especially liberals, is that their media, the media that feed them their information, have simply refused to investigate the most basic questions if the political outcome of it is uncertain. And in the case of Barack Obama, they presented us a blank slate.
Let me do this. I need to break. I'm going to ask a question I've asked people that I respect, like yourself. What would happen if it were true that he literally did not or does not meet the requirements? Hang on a second. Our guest is Jack Cashill, the piece from the American Thinker. Our website, KHOW.com. Look at the combinations. Traffic time. Here's Susan. Yeah. 8:33, 27 minutes before the hour, 45 the high. 630 KHW, KHW.com, and we're going to talk about whether or not those photos of Obama's mother should be up there. Got a really clever email about renaming Injun Joe, and someone said, and call him, we should now, as they rewrite or translate Huckleberry Finn to eliminate offensive words, he should now be dubbed Indigenous Homeless Resident Joseph. Injun Joe. On the line with us is, I have immense respect for Jack Cashill, American thinker, and more and more, what started out 3 years ago, I think we did our first so-called birther story, and the drumbeat grows louder, and more people across the country, even when you look at the Vanity Fair pieces and CNN, which are hardly the bastions of conservative thought, people are going, no, I don't buy this anymore, and Chris Matthews steps up and does that really interesting piece. And then the erstwhile governor of Hawaii, Neil Abercrombie and Snitch, goes public with his desire to silence the birthers, and now he's gone silent. So with Jack here, and by the way, I didn't do the right thing. I said, who are the three possibilities as Barack Obama's biological father? Then I didn't ask you that after the break. I apologize, if you would.
Yeah, I would say the ruling on the field, of course, is Barack Obama Sr., The other two possibilities are Frank Marshall Davis, who's a very good possibility, and an unknown black male on the mainland. And if you want a celebrity kind of Paul is dead kind of unknown black male, it's not Malcolm X. Yeah. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Not right.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is a funny one. This is one that I just have fun with. But I expect to see Huffington Post, calling me a nut job for suggesting it. But there was. a guy who lived in Seattle at the time, young black man, thin, tall, 2 days older than Ann Dunham, who was allegedly thrown out of his high school for dating white women.
Phew.
And Barack Obama has referred to him on several occasions in interesting ways, and that would be Mr. Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, but I think Jimi Hendrix, when he was in the 82nd Airborne, I think, right about.
No, the timing fits.
Was it?
He left.
Okay.
So after Ann went to Hawaii, he went right. He
Jimmy
joined
was
the
there?
military, washed out, right?
Oh, that's classic.
But what's happened? What's funny is that, and this, by the way, this is a Paul is dead kind of fatherhood
Sure.
thing. So, audience, bear with me. But in Dreams of My Father, when Barack Obama is referring to certain years, he hangs certain milestones on them, like what happened in that year. The year 1967, he identifies with one milestone. That is the year Jimi Hendrix, that's what Obama says, debuted at Monterey Pop. And then on Labor Day of 2010, he's giving a speech in Milwaukee, and then he breaks out of the teleprompted speech, and he just says, "They treat me like a dog," and he sort of sings the line, and then all the bloggers picked up the fact the next day that was a title or the line from a Jimi Hendrix song.
Sure, that's Jimmy. I'm a big Jimmy fan.
So then I'm beginning to think, okay, they're both left-handed. Who knows?
But again, I use a term probably overused now called it's Roswell, or
right.
in the end of that great film, it's Chinatown.
In Chinatown, right? Exactly.
There's no answer.
No, but there could be an answer here, and
of course
Davis is a serious candidate.
I agree. And if you look at those pictures again, KHOW.com, or tell people to look at them. And you don't see Barack Sr. as the father. And the other part that never ever made sense in Dreams of My Father, and all those the Obama books that you pointed out, you don't even believe Obama wrote, but this story that Big Stan, Gramps, and they're living together for 2 years, and if you bring Abercrombie and what people have dubbed the nativity story. Well, now it's time for Senior to go to Cambridge, to go to Harvard. In the book, Gramps drives him to the airport.
Yeah.
Hugs him, wishes him good luck. Now, in reality, this guy knocks up your daughter, doesn't marry her, never gives her a dime in support, never lives with her. He's not there when anything happens, never marries her. And in fact, your daughter lights out when the baby's sometime less than 20 days of age.
Right.
Is that a guy that you drive to the airport and hug goodbye and wish him good luck?
Absolutely not. In fact, there's a picture of him that showed up in Honolulu Advertiser, and Obama refers to it, but the picture's from June of '62, before Obama's first birthday. And he's saying that he was 2 years old when the old man left. But
no, it's not.
He had to know himself.
Sure.
And there's a big going-away party for Obama Sr., and standing next to him, smiling all is Stanley Dunham.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this guy knocks up my 19-year-old.
Or 18, or ever she was 17. Yeah, you don't know. I'm
not standing next to him.
No.
If I'm standing next to him, I got a shotgun at the back of his head.
No, exactly. We're going back and get married.
Yeah. And there's one other detail about Davis that is, I think, worth considering. It's the poem that Obama allegedly wrote as a 19-year-old at Occidental College called Pop. Now, you read online, you go into the thing, and all the literary, and it's a very good poem, by the way. It's too good. But most of all of the literary people that have reviewed the poem have said, this is clearly a poem about Gramps, Stanley Dunham.
No.
Well, I'm sorry, if I'm writing a poem about a guy I called Gramps, I wouldn't call it Pop.
I would call him Gramps. Sure. Yeah, he knew.
But when you look at the poem, it's clearly about Frank Marshall Davis. There's a point in the poem where and he describes Frank Marshall Davis in describing it. And he stands up and he says, he reads to me a poem he wrote after his mother died. Well, Barack knows that his grandmother, Stanley's mother, died when he was 8 years old.
Yeah.
He's not a poet, and he doesn't write poetry as an 8-year-old that he's going to recite, 50 years later. Not only and in calling the poem Pop, and it's about Davis, it raises questions.
Sure. Did he know?
And then when you get into it, you realize that Davis actually wrote the poem. And then it gets really and their relationship is deep and troubled and possibly sexual. And the evidence is in the poetry.
A guy named Jeff Kuhn on Fox Nation, and we're trying to get him on the radio show again as these people start to knit up. Cooner says, look, there's going to be a civil war if the truth got out. What do you do with that statement?
It would not. They would leave him in office. They'd find some, some just for institutional stability. They would not ask him to step down. However, it would make his running again very, very problematic.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I don't think they'd allow him to run again.
No, I would agree to that.
Yeah.
But all this threatening of, well, if you do that, then this or this and that. I go, well, this country survived an awful lot. I think it can take this.
Right. Plus, the passion for Barack Obama has faded considerably on the left, and they're not. He's no longer the champion they thought he was, and I mean, there are a few diehards, of course, but they'll stick to him as if he runs, but the passion's gone. The bumper stickers are off.
So, what major media outlet that they all reported Neil Abercrombie's public desire to silence the birthers? And I'm thinking in particular that they're the big three, the two times in the Trib. Isn't anybody sitting in a room right now and saying, guess what? Hey, man, how come we got jacked by that governor? You don't think that's ever going to happen?
No. I would say that, the Los Angeles Times seemed to be the medium that was most interested, but I would be surprised if any of them followed up,
No, they won't.
And I just don't, their ability to overlook critical information continues to impress me.
And of course, these are all people columnists who have attacked birthers as racist and, rednecks and, all the other kind of stuff. And they've let that go on, and they themselves have used those stories themselves and used those kinds of terms. And now using the words of Grace Slick when the truth is found to be lies.
Yeah, right. And no, they'll just ignore it. I had a case where this happened about a year or so ago when Christopher Anderson's book, Barack and Michelle, came out.
I remember that. Yeah, sure.
He confirmed my thesis that, he had firsthand evidence, talked to the people in Hyde Park, that, in fact, Bill Ayers was the craftsman behind Dreams from My Father.
Sure.
I read 80 online reviews from mainstream newspapers. Not a single one of them mentioned the single most newsworthy item in the book.
They can't. And
that's Matthews had him on the show and didn't mention it.
That's why they've lost their place. That's why they've dwindled. I'll get you back ASAP. You are the man as always, Jack. Thanks so much. And the book will be when?
The book will be out February 15th. You can pre-order it now at Cashill.com. Get a signed, personalized first edition. So
we'll get you back as soon as you're out. Call us, and that way I'll talk to you before then. I promise.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be at the top of our list.
Thanks, brother. Be safe, man.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
KHOW.com are these series of pictures. You pick them and play them. KHOW.com. 45.